The Nintendo Switch 2 is fast approaching, and I almost feel like Nintendo kind of made this as like a custom system for me because most of my favorite games are already going to be here on day one. Not only are we getting patches for Legend of Zelda and Mario Odyssey, but they're bringing out Mario Kart right off the gate, which was the thing that sold me on the Wii U, and they're bringing us Metroid Prime, which is a game series that I absolutely love. I love the Prime games and I love the originals. I just love Metroid. So the point is, I have a lot of content that's going to be available on day one. And that is super, super exciting to me. But it got me thinking, what games aren't on the system yet? And what could we realistically expect in the next year? So I came up with 5 kind of out there games that I kind of hope to see on the Nintendo Switch 2. So let's get right into it. Hello and welcome. My name is Wolfy. You're watching Lesser Than Cake, and today we're talking Nintendo Switch 2 games because, well, a lot's already been announced. A lot of it's backwards compatible, and some of it is even getting updates, which is all really, really cool. So the Switch 2 is literally going to be coming out with a ton of games to play and even some to replay, in my case. Which means we could probably rule out a couple of games coming out real soon. In fact, we'll make this the honorable mentions list. A new Zelda and a new Mario are pretty much a guarantee. I think that we're probably a couple years off from a new 3D Mario and probably several years off from a new 3D Zelda. The reason I say this is Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are both getting the kind of update remaster treatment that is exclusive to Switch 2. And Mario Odyssey is getting an upgrade that allows it to run a little bit better on Switch 2 and also be compatible with, I think, the game share feature, maybe? I'm not entirely sure what it entails, because Nintendo didn't really tell us what it entails. But the point is, these games are kind of getting updated, which almost makes me feel like they're kind of giving this to us in a way that allows us to have these games available on the Switch 2 at launch, but not necessarily that they're going to be coming out. The more likely of the two is the 3D Mario, and I would not be surprised if that is actually the big holiday game that has yet to be announced. But those are kind of like a given. Those are going to happen no matter what. I wanted out there games. And so let's start with number 1. Splatoon 4. This one I think is pretty much a given, probably actually this year, as crazy as that sounds. And that is because social features. This is literally what everybody's been asking for since Splatoon 1 came out. Voice chat and, well, of course, team chat. And they're going to probably add in things like the camera stuff so that, you know, you have those extra little features like watching your opponents get splatted and things like that. I can see this as an easy move for Nintendo to sell more cameras and to push the game chat, which they are going to be pushing heavily as it's been a forefront of their marketing. Additionally, Splatoon 4 makes a lot of sense in its timeline for production. Splatoon 3 actually had, I think, its last Splatfest a little bit ago, and the way that these games typically work is after the last Splatfest, the next game is only a couple years away. Their production time on these are actually very, very quick, and they get them turned around in a speed that's almost breakneck for Nintendo. So I actually think that we're probably going to get an announcement, maybe right after the Switch 2 launch, that is going to be like, hey, look, here's our big summer game. It's Splatoon 4. But is Splatoon 4 a big enough game to really carry? I don't know currently. It does seem like it might work, but I'm a little on the fence on whether or not it's become a big enough franchise for that to happen. Also, I think it really depends on the Switch 2 player base. I know Splatoon 4 is going to require a lot of players, and if they make it console exclusive, which they might, we may be in a situation where there aren't enough players because there aren't enough Switch 2s out. So they may even hold this off just for that reason alone. But I do see this one coming pretty quickly, and I don't even think it's that out there of a prediction, especially because the Switch actually got 2 different copies of Splatoon, and the Wii U even got 1. So yeah, at this point, it's a Nintendo household name. Number 2. Wario Land. Now, don't get me wrong, Wario games have been coming out regularly. I've seen plenty of the WarioWare games come out for the Switch, but Wario Land hasn't had a major game since the Nintendo DS. I don't think there was a copy on the 3DS, if I'm not mistaken. And so I want it back. the weird, unusual platformer that was the Wario Land series, where you ran around beating levels as quickly as you could so you can get as much treasure as possible, was just really, really fun. And then the alternate endings was just, it was a lot of additional challenge on the Game Boy Advance. I'm talking about, I think, Wario Land 3. I'll actually, I think it's on the Virtual Console. I'll even throw gameplay of it up. But these games actually have a weird place in my heart because it was one of the first Game Boy Advance games that I actually had, and one of the first ones that I actually beat. So picture little Wolfy here with the Game Boy Advance. I had like a white Game Boy Advance, and just beating this game by the dim light of the outside lights, because the Game Boy Advance did not have backlights. That wasn't until the SP. But digressing, the Wario Land series was always supposed to be the weird Mario platformer, the game series that tried some unusual, edgy things. And now we got Mario Wonder, which would have plenty of power-ups that would fit in a Wario Land game. And I do wonder, are they just going to start doing the weird stuff with the Mario characters? Or could we actually finally expand upon the Dark Mario timeline, where we got Wario and Waluigi and maybe even Walla Peach, who was designed but never came out? Like, come on guys. I want to actually explore the weirdness that is the Mario universe, and you're not letting me. You haven't made a new Wario game in forever. I don't think it's very likely. I think Nintendo wants to kind of leave this one in the past, but it would be really fun if they decided to actually bring out a game that was just absolutely insane. Like, take Mario Wonder to like 11, and that's the game. I'd play it. I would play it. I would 100% it. I would speedrun it. I would do a Let's Play on it. So Nintendo, that's your challenge right there. Make this game, even though I highly doubt that you guys want to at this point, because you've shown that you really don't care about the Wario franchise. Number 3. Star Fox. Now, Star Fox has had an identity crisis pretty much since Star Fox Adventure. The first game was a game where you flew around really, really fast and you destroyed things in a very low poly way. It was one of the first 3D graphic games, and it ran on the Super Nintendo. Star Fox 2, or Star Fox 64. Retelling of the first game mostly, but there were polygonal graphics, and it ran at 64-bit, and it was actually impressive for its time, and was loved by many. Star Fox Adventure, or the third game in the list, was a game that was taken over, was originally supposed to be a game called Dino Planet, which is why it's not really that Star Foxy. Had a few Star Foxy segments in it that almost is reminiscent of Kingdom Hearts and the flying around in the gummy ship, where it almost feels shoehorned in and doesn't make much sense for the story. But whatever, I still enjoyed it, and I actually still enjoyed that game. In fact, I still have a copy of it sitting on my shelf. I'm glancing in the direction of it, but I have a copy of that game. It is a game that I've played a lot, and it is near and dear to my heart because it's actually one of the first Star Fox games I played, despite knowing that it's actually nothing like the rest of the franchise. Star Fox Assault, the fourth game in the list that most people don't even know about, it was also on the GameCube. And that one kind of merged the two together. There were ground segments, there were flying segments. It was actually not bad. There were just some awkward controls with the ground segments in which the characters controlled like tanks, and it was a little bit weird and cumbersome to get around. It was supposed to be like a Battlefront mixed with Star Fox. It's not a bad idea, but it wasn't exactly the best. And then there was the DS game that came out that was, I think, kind of an RTS. I never actually played that one. That's the one that I did not play. And then there was the Wii U reboot, which was supposed to bring it back to everything. And then it didn't. It had a rough control scheme that made it very difficult to play. A difficulty that was borderline childishly easy at times, and then like ridiculously difficult at other times. Like the difficulty curve on it was like really weird. It looked good. I will give it that. It was a very good looking game, but it wasn't the most fun to play. I actually tried to do a review on my Greater Than Pi channel when I first played it, and I couldn't really put into words why I was having issues with it. Like, it's everything we asked for, but just like off, if that makes sense. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo considers this series a bit of a pariah in their long list of game series. But Fox still remains one of the most popular characters in Smash, and there are a lot of people who actually really enjoy this series. Problem is, I don't think Nintendo knows what to do with it. So I'm going to give you my elevator pitch now, Nintendo, okay? I know you don't watch this channel, like almost nobody does at this point, but if you are somehow on here, here's my elevator pitch. I can see Star Fox going 3 ways, right? 3 different ways that you can make the Star Fox franchise good. 1, you go full on to the vehicle combat. We are talking like actual high speed, detailed, like dogfighting style things. You use the Joy-Con 2s to actually use like a throttle maneuver with the actual like mouse grip. You go a little bit more detailed than normal. I'm talking like almost sim, but like cartoony sim almost, that kind of thing. It can be an optional mode. I know you guys like to have your fun little stuff. Mouse mode can even be used specifically for the targeting systems if you wanted to, which could be fun. There's so many different things. I've actually flown planes, and the way that they usually operate is you've got one thing to control and one thing to speed everything up and down, and you could probably emulate that using the Joy-Con 2s. And if you went that way and like actually made a game that's a little bit more graphically demanding, again, faster paced combat, arcade shooter, could be really cool. It might be hard to sell at your asking price of $80, but it would be a cool game to make. Option number 2, you say screw that. You go the full adventure route and you actually make it like a multi-planetary adventure where Fox and crew goes planet to planet doing all sorts of cool, crazy stuff. And instead of making it control like tank controls, maybe give it more, I don't want to say Mass Effect, but maybe Mass Effect, or maybe just full on FPS. FPS would be ideal, I think. Like if you had your pilot sections that are exactly like Star Fox 64, you get down on a planet and there's an FPS where Fox and friends have to explore around, solve puzzles, and actually, you know, survive the planet. That could be cool. I could see it working. But I know you guys are adverse to doing things like that. So, well, it might be a nice hybridization of the adventure style and the current, or the main game style. It might also not work because, you know, you guys would have to make a full FPS mode and probably make it more mature looking than Metroid. I know Metroid has the whole like arm cannon thing, which kind of makes it a little bit cartoony, but Fox literally carries a blaster. You're gonna have to pretty much make it Han Solo over there with the blaster, and I don't know if you'd be okay with that. It might be cool. I mean, imagine they went actually like dark with it. 3rd option, you focus on vehicles, you keep the arcadiness the same, but you give us more vehicles, more paths to explore throughout the universe, and you make it just bigger. Take 64 and make it bigger. Like, not as small as the Wii U version, because that game was actually very small. I'm talking, make it so that we've got, like, there was a joke in Star Fox Command about, like, Fox joining a racing league. Make that an actual minigame that happens. Like, take No Man's Sky's, like, exploring through the universe, Star Fox's cartoony dogfighting, merge them together, allow us to fly throughout the universe. It's actually very similar to that weird Toys to Life game that Ubisoft made. But give us actual content on each planet. Like, if I'm flying to this planet, I want something to happen. Maybe I have to switch vehicles, do something. That would be really cool. Maybe even make a racing league. Make it so that Fox can live in this world, explore in this world, and do whatever is needed to have a good time, and then also defeat their arch enemy, Andros. Or, I don't know, come up with a new enemy. I mean, you tried that in Star Fox Assault, but I don't know. It would be kind of cool. I feel most partial to the second option, and I do think that Star Fox can come back. It just needs some fresh blood behind it. I'm like talking, get somebody who isn't normally involved in these games. Am I on number 4? Kid Icarus Uprising sequel. I want it. I really, really, really want it. I loved that game on the 3DS, and it was like the one time you let Sakurai out of the basement. He got to actually make something fairly unique, and it was cool. Anime Kid Icarus is fun. The game was fun to play. I used to play it at the hardest difficulty. I mastered that thing. I would love to see it again. Heck, I would take a remastered at this point. But I know that the story might be a little bit hard to, well, expand on. They kind of did wrap everything up nicely in a little bow. But If you were to expand on it, I could see there being awesome gameplay with the Joy-Con mouse mode. I could see there being really good combat. Essentially, imagine mouse mode is used specifically while you're flying, so you got your targeting and you've got your normal control with the one hand. And then you get on the ground and you just take your Joy-Cons and you play like a normal action game. It'd be so awesome. Like, it would be really, really cool. I could see the gameplay working. I could see that it's a franchise that hasn't had a game since the 3DS, which means that it's about time we get a Switch version. And it's a game franchise that doesn't have a bad game in it yet. So, come on, Nintendo. It's literally sitting right there for you. I know the biggest problem is Sakurai is currently finishing Kirby Air Riders 2, which means that they're either going to allow him to make this next, or they're going to force him to make Smash Bros. Again. And you know how he feels about making Smash Bros. Again. So, maybe let him not make Smash Bros. Immediately. I can wait. Smash Ultimate's crazy. Give me an update for Smash Ultimate with like the you know, all the works. I'd be fine with that. Just let him work on Kid Icarus Uprising 2, or just remaster Kid Icarus Uprising. Both options are acceptable to me. I will take it. I want that game. I loved it a lot. It was so much fun. So many cool moments. Good story. Just give me more of that, please. I want it. But then brings me to number 5. This one, I know it sounds like a long shot. I know it probably will not happen, but it almost feels like Nintendo's gearing up for it. The Switch 2 has become the handheld of the racing games. We've got Mario Kart World coming out. We got Kirby Air Riders coming out. What other Nintendo racer is there? F-Zero. And not only do I think that F-Zero is coming back, I can prove it. So F-Zero hasn't had a game since the GameCube. But what game was front and center when they announced the GameCube Virtual Console? F-Zero. What game had a weird battle royale that came out? F-Zero. What game has got a character who's been in every single Smash Brothers game that almost nobody knows about because the game franchise is so dormant? F-Zero. Now, knowing Nintendo, they want to do something new with the franchise. Well, they've actually made it easy for themselves. They took zero gravity out of Mario Kart, which means that now we need a zero gravity racer. We already know that the game's idea and ideology is go really, really fast. Like, it's a skill-based zero-G racer. That is its concept. But I do think we could possibly see it go further. Maybe them develop more advanced tracks, crazier ideas. It will literally just improve just by having more technology, better frame rates, better graphics at this point. Like, it really wouldn't be a hard game to make. The question is, will Nintendo make it? And I feel like they are. I mean, you saw the Paul Rudd commercial of Paul Rudd acting like Paul Rudd from the Nintendo commercial in the 80s, right? Like, that should be evidence enough that F-Zero is on its way. Because I'm pretty sure that original commercial featured F-Zero, because F-Zero was the console flagship game. And this time, we have Mario Kart, but we don't have F-Zero yet. So, F-Zero? I think it's happening. Okay, so those were my five weird out there games that I would like to see on the Switch 2. I want to know yours. Put them down in the comments below, and I want to see what 5 games you think will come out for the Nintendo Switch 2 that aren't already announced and are kind of out there. I want your weird stuff, like Chibi Robo. That would be a fun one too. So that's where I'm going to end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching it, please consider giving it a like. I hope to see you in the next video. Wolfy, out.